Nearly 2,000 of the world's top action players rolled into Las Vegas this week for the 8th annual Super Bowl High Roller. And one will take home a pot of gold worth $100,000. From the Showboat Hotel, Casino, and Bowling Center in Las Vegas, it's the Super Bowl High Roller. We are inside the beautiful to watch one bowler win $100,000. Earl, 4 bowlers, $100,000 on the line. It doesn't get any better than this tonight.
And this is what's left of our field of almost 2,000 entries here at the Showboat.
There are a lot of Bob Purzycki fans all across the country.
Time to go.
1 o'clock.
High roller tournaments have paid over $62 million in prizes right here in this
What are you doing?
Good, buddy. How you doing?
How are you?
Very well.
Good, good.
What's your match?
1 o'clock. When's yours?
Same time.
Oh, are you?
Hopefully we don't cross paths yet.
The whole point is these are one-game matches, single matches. It doesn't matter what you bowl, how high you bowl, as long as you win. That's what it's about. Win, you're in. Lose, you're out. That's how this is going on. Nobody ever told me that I could have been the greatest, the best there ever was, even though I knew that I could have been one of the best. Because I beat the best. I beat, when I was 20, all the people that became the best when we were 20, I was the best out of all of them. So, and I broke their butts. That's how we became good friends. Because I would bowl them and beat them, and after I got done beating them, we became friends.
6B.
6B. Good luck, man.
Thanks.
Here, Bobby, take one of these.
We're on 6B, guys. So I'll go get my balls and we'll go down there.
When you go on.
This is the sheet that everybody has to list their balls on. So
Yes.
everybody gets to use 4 bowling balls and they have to be recorded. This week, come every round as long as you're in the winner's spot. You keep winning, you keep coming.
That's right.
Let's just get by this one today and then we'll take it one game at a time, like I take my life one day at a time.
Bob had that special talent, and whenever anybody talked about Bob Purry, it was always followed by the sentence, wow, he could have been the best. He has so much talent, and look how he's ruining his life. That always followed. It was almost part of his name. Bob Purry, isn't that the kid's got so much talent and ruined his life?
I was born in Patterson, New Jersey, June 2nd, 1952, in Patterson General Hospital, from what I know of. I have 1 dead brother, 4 living sisters. My brother Charles was the first one born, died of cystic fibrosis. Then I had 4 sisters, Ann, Joan, Pat, and Jean. When I was 6 years old, my father took me bowling down in Peerless Lanes. It was in River Street in Patterson, and that's where I first started. I used to get one special lane, lane 5 or lane 6. I get my own ball, had a special number out off the rack, 124 I think it was, I'll never forget it. And I used to throw it all the time, all Friday night long by myself. You know, I didn't really keep score much. And then when I would come home, I'd have my own little pin and my own ball, and I'd bowl in the living room all the time. My father bowled under Charlie Purry. See, him and his brother was Chet Purzycki and Charlie Purzycki, and they used to all, they couldn't figure out which was which, and they'd spell the name wrong all the time. But when I was 6 years old, my father named me Bob Purry, and that's the name I stuck with. I mean, Patterson was a good town. You know, you could keep your door open. You didn't have to lock your door then. Not like today. I mean, you know, the urban's moving in everywhere. But certain parts, that don't look too bad. I mean, but, you know, what it looks like now and what it looked like then is 2 different things. I used to be a paper boy for all these people over here. And, you know, I'd come and deliver the papers. After a while, half the people wouldn't pay me. I used to go to the door and knock for the money. We don't want the paper no more. I was the only guy that had a paper out in New Jersey that used to get in trouble because the people wouldn't pay me, and I used to get scared, so I used to just not deliver it to them no more. I was not a tough guy. I was a small guy. I was the smallest guy on the block. I was real skinny. You know, I had tough times, my broken arms and my eye, and you know, I wasn't. I was just one of them little skinny kids, little tiny kids, real thin. This is the playground where I used to play when I was in grammar school. So St. John's Grammar School and St. John's Cathedral High School. They had 40-year-old bowling alleys with real old pins and house balls. And I used to come down here when nothing was going on, and the priest, if I was hanging out, he used to let me go downstairs, and I used to set up the pins myself, come back up, throw the ball, go back down, set the pins up, send the ball back, because they were 50-year-old lanes. They had no ball return. House looks exactly the same from 1972. Exactly the same. There's no difference except maybe for the steps here. But it looks close to the same. The first house we had burnt down in 1972, and we had this one rebuilt. And it's a little bit different, but the foundation's still the same. This is the backyard I was born and raised in and grown up. It looks exactly the same. The wall's still the same, steps are still here. And this is where I was born and raised. We used to play a lot here. Ricky lived next door here. And this is where we used to play a lot. And we had the pool here. We had a pool here, but before that, this is the place where I got hit and I got blinded. They had a bowling alley in the World's Fair, the AMF Pavilion. The winner would get a scholarship to college, but what happened was I qualified locally and I bowled very well, and I knew I was going to do well. I won the first regional, and we went to the second regional, I won that, and we went to the third regional, and I won that. So we went into New York, and I had won that regional, and you know, we were going to go to the finals. And I was doing very well, and I felt that I had a great chance of winning. And I was really up there. And, you know, then it never got to be done. You know, I never made the final thing in the World's Fair. My father gave me a croquet mallet set. And he says, I don't want you to play with that at all unless I'm home with my mother, because we played one day, me and Ricky next door, played with it outside. And we played in the backyard, and Ricky would hit the ball like it's a golf ball. He didn't hit it like it was a croquet mallet. And he went to swing it. As he swung it, he let go of it by accident. And then he said, turn around. And as I turned around, I got it dead in my head, and it crushed half my face.
And I was across the street, and the woman, all of a sudden, we heard my brother screaming. And we ran outside, and he was running down the driveway holding his head, and blood was just coming out everywhere.
And a lady across the street thought that I was getting beat up, or somebody was beating me up real bad. And she ran across the street, Diane's mother, Millie, and Millie came in the house and saw her, and she was a nurse, I think. And she said, call your father, and we got to get him to a hospital.
My father worked about 25 minutes away, and for some reason it was like he was home in 3 minutes. And then we were to the hospital.
Doctor was trying to do my eye, and then he told my father I couldn't see. And he said that it's my left eye, my left one. And he said that, you know, your son can't see.
This is where I think my watching over Bob the rest of my life came in, because I was holding his hand in the emergency room, and he was like, don't leave me, please don't leave me. And when I look back now, this is, I think, where my connection really bonded.
I can't see no people or places or make any kind of distinctions out or anything. So it was determined that I had a shattered retina that scarred and buckled over and twisted and never healed. So that's what I was dealt with. And then after that, life became really terrible for a while. That's the guy that used to always somehow get me inside his house and then molest me and do bad things to me, and it wasn't a good time. There was a gentleman that lived across the street from me. He was 17, 18 years old. I was 12. It was right after that, but it was happening at that time. He used to somehow find a way to get me in his house. And when he got me in his house, he used to molest me. He used to try to perform sexual acts on me and have me doing it on him. And I was scared to death. I could not handle that. I didn't know how to tell my father. I couldn't tell anybody because I was scared. And second of all, I didn't think anybody would believe me. Later on down in my life, I felt that that was one of the reasons that, you know, they tell you that you drink for several different reasons. And, you know, I didn't get to deal with this till I was 40 years old. So I carried this thing for like 28 years. And it was a very hard thing to deal with.
Jeannie and I bowled with my mother, and we had a league. It was my mother, myself, Jeannie, a cousin, and then a friend of ours. And when my mother died, that was when we stopped bowling. My mother was very into bowling.
But we bowled a lot of years, though. We bowled
Right,
in the Catholic
Catholic
Women's
League,
League.
Friday
We
nights,
all,
right.
we all bowled. John
I
was the only one
retired.
that really didn't bowl long.
My father would sit behind us in the bowling alley, and while we were bowling in the league, and he'd be behind, we would be on the team, and he'd be behind, and he'd come over the seat and say, "You didn't do it right this way. You didn't do it right that way."
Can't get the
Yes.
ball around your fat ass.
Get your ball around your fat ass. Yeah.
When Mommy died, that was it. Nobody had to pick up a bowling ball again.
If you were sick, my mother couldn't understand if you were sick and you didn't come.
You had to
be
bowl.
there. You
My
had to be
father
there.
died, and we were bowling that night.
Yeah.
And Ann said, "We're not going bowling." And my mother
That was
said,
a-
"Yes, we are. Your father would have wanted it."
And we were a big family.
And we all played sports. And my mother drove us all to sports and all our friends.
We
It was
had
a
to.
constant thing.
There was a boy before me who died 20 days before I was born, and then there was 4 girls, and then there was Bobby, and he's the only male on the one family side. So he was like, "Oh, here's the son."
No, but to us.
Oh, but to us he was a toy.
I broke his arm twice.
I don't remember anything. Oh, yeah, we broke his arm.
Yes.
Well, one was an accident. We were playing on the couch, and he fell off. I mean, we didn't go to break his arm. He fell off, so we wrapped it up.
No, first we said, look, it's not broke.
Oh yeah, we did kick it a little. I said, "It's not broke.
It's not
What are you
broke.
crying for?" He
Because
said,
we would get in trouble that he got hurt.
All our friends, like their fathers, liked him because anybody who didn't have a son, So he was the kid of the neighborhood.
Well, my bowling game, I didn't bowl for a while. I didn't bowl until I was almost 14 years old. I didn't really get to do a lot of things. I was very clumsy. I would fall down. I couldn't see. I'd walk into things. Everybody said, "You're not going to make it." I think if I was you, I would quit. And I said, "I'm not going to quit." I said, I'm going to be a professional bowler." I told everybody, and everybody used to laugh at me. "You're going to be a professional bowler." I said, "That's right. I'm going to be a professional bowler." I started bowling. I threw the ball down the lane. Every ball went in the gutter. I couldn't even bowl 50. From a kid that was going bowling 190s and 200s and 210s at the age of 12, at 14, I couldn't bowl 100. And it was very, very embarrassing because, people were waiting to see me bowl, and I had no idea what to do. So the next year and a half, from the age of 14 to 16, it was really hard on me, but I wouldn't give up. What happened was I got a job working at Arrow Fastener. It used to be on Route 80 in Saddlebrook, New Jersey. And I worked there all night long from 8 at night to 4 in the morning in the night shift. And then at 8 in the morning till 5 at night, I would bowl all day long. I bowled 12 hours a day, every day for the entire summer. And I went to Lodi Lanes, and an old friend of my father's, Alpha Scarino, was helping me. And I went from throwing a straight ball to throwing one of the strongest balls in bowling.
Bobby disappeared for about 6 months. Come back into the bowling alley one day, and he says to everybody, he says, "I want to bowl you, I want to bowl you, and I want to bowl you." He says, "'Cause you all stink."
And the guy looked at me and goes, "You're a 170 average bowler." I said, "Whatever I am, you could bowl me." And I went from 170 to like 200 or 220 in one summer. And I walked in a bowling alley and I devastated everybody.
Even the best bowlers always respected and somewhat feared Bob because they knew of his talent.
His talent was exceptional because he was one of those natural bowlers, or natural sportsmen, as we would say. But the rhythm that he had, the execution that he had of the bowling ball, the roll on the ball, the power that he had at the end of in the pocket, it was something else.
He had one of the greatest arm swings, and a lot of the young players today have a high backswing. Pete Weber's backswing, real high. A lot of those guys have all these high backswings. Well, Bob started that high backswing.
And I went from some kid on the street that was nothing to the best bowler in the East Coast. I used to go out every Friday night, everywhere, and bowl everybody for money. It didn't matter. I went, and all these big-time money bowlers, they'd walk in, they'd see me, and I'd step on a lane. After I was done with them, they'd walk out scratching their heads, like, where did this kid come from?
We battled each other on the lanes in competition, match play, and he beat me and I beat him, and he beat me and I beat him. But we had a lot of fun together, and he was a great guy to watch.
I was terrific. I won my first professional title. I remember I bowled 12 tournaments, 12 regional tournaments. The most first place was $1,000. And I was leading money winner with $6,000.
I was at the American Bowling Congress Championship. I got him in doubles and singles with another young guy who bowled tour, Ty Critchlow, and put the two guys together for the doubles and singles competition that afternoon. And lo and behold, Bob and Ty won the professional doubles title that day.
He would bowl against anybody anywhere. He bowled in leagues in maybe 10 different areas in New Jersey. Almost invariably, he would be the leading bowler in the league. He's rolled 300 games and 800 series in 10 different counties in the state, which is an incredible feat. There's this organization called the NBA. That's the National Bowling Association. Now, this is a complete black organization that was formed because initially in bowling, only whites were allowed to bowl, so they formed their own organization. And each year they have a tournament. So what happens, because of rules, they have to accept anybody. So one tournament, in walks Bob, and he wins the NBA singles championship.
I ended up being TNBA Bowl of the Year. I was Black Bowl of the Year, and I was a white guy.
Well, actually, in 1972, I bought Encyclopedia Britannica, and every year you get the Book of the Year after that. The Book of the Year would come in the mail. And I opened it one day, and I said, oh, let me look up bowling. And I looked up bowling, and there was my brother's name in Encyclopedia Britannica.
I joined the PBA when I was 19. I had graduated high school. I think it was the summer. I had a choice either to go to college or to become a professional bowler, and I became a professional bowler. This is the Bergen County Bowlers Association. It's one of the only associations in the United States that owns its own building. They built this building in 1973 when they had 30,000 bowlers in this county of Bergen County. And it was one of the largest bowling associations in America. This is where, if you wanted to become a great bowler, you needed to bowl on Monday nights in Paramus. That's where all the famous bowlers bowled in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Hey, Bob, how you doing? Yak Shamash. How's everything?
Good. We came here to see the Hall of Fame.
Oh, good, nice.
Fellow Hall of Famer, fellow teammate.
Thanks.
Joe Tove, so, you know.
Good, great. Let's go inside and see everybody.
These are the pictures of everybody that's been inducted to the Bergen County Hall of Fame. A lot of these people I know personally, and a lot of them had an effect on my life. The first person that I beat for my first professional title was Ralph Engen. Joe was on the same team as Eddie Totola, who was a teammate of mine in Paramus. Then we have Chuck Pisano, who was a really personal, good friend of mine. Then we have the greatest bowler, I think, that New Jersey's ever seen, and that's Tita Semez. That's on top over there. You know, he was probably the greatest bowler the state of New Jersey has ever seen. You know, you think about being put in the Hall of Fame. I mean, it's a great honor, and you know, it's a well-deserved honor for a lot of people. I mean, even for me, it was a well-deserved honor. But you know, drinking and drugging took a lot of things away from me. Took the State Hall of Fame away from me. They'll never put me in the State Hall of Fame because of the way they act. I mean, they had the elections again this year, and they didn't put me in. And I've been on the ballot for 15 years. I mean, it's totally ridiculous. I mean, I had major accomplishments in bowling and never got in, so.
As Bob started getting older and bowling better, a lot of people started showing up, very interested in what Bob was doing. People from Patterson, a lot of people that were, I don't know how to say this. I really don't know how to say this. People that were, I don't want to say mafia people, but I want to say shady people. It's not shady people. Maybe powerful people. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for, because I was impressed also.
The fat man was a guy named Raymond Szymanski. He was a funny guy. We called him the fat man because he was always sweating. He was big and heavy, and he had money. We got to know Raymond Raymond used to take us here. We'd go here, we'd go there. And Raymond was the money man. Don't worry about it. I'll put up the money. And he'd be the backer. Yeah, I'm showing a ball for. You know, that's the kind of guy he was. He was the wise guy.
Raymond was the wise guy.
He was the wise guy.
He was also known as Uncle Raymond.
Uncle Raymond, right.
He had them fucking dangerous eyes. You know, they talk about people with eyes that can look through you and cut you up. That's what he had. He'd go like this.
There's a tough element there behind gambling, and if you don't perform, you can get hurt, physically as well as mentally, and you have to be careful how you're introduced into gambling in pot games, as we called it back then.
Bowling was gambling itself. They bowled for money all the time.
It was like going to a movie and seeing the sheriff of the town going against the fastest gun. Because when you walked into a bowling center, you would actually challenge the best bowler in that center.
It was fun. You go in a bowling alley, you could be broke and walk in, and they'd all bet on you. You win, and they give you the money, and you go home. It was great. Friday nights was terrific. And if I had 200 or I had nothing, I would come home with a lot of money.
Problem is, the money that he did win, very little of it was his money. So it was a tough life, and naturally, being awake 3-4 days at a time, that would lead to some type of a drug to try to keep you going.
This accident was all my fault. I had to deliver liquor. I was working for this company, and we had all customers in New York City, and I had to deliver the Christmas gifts to them, which were bottles of, bottles for Christmas and things like that. So I said to Bob, would you drive me? If you drive me, I can just run in. So he said, okay. So he drove me. So the first one I had to go to was Gimbel's department store. And he's, Pat, you take too long. I'll go. You drive the car. It's okay. So I'm sitting in the car, and all of a sudden I'm waiting and waiting. I'm illegally parked on 31st Street.
Now I'm walking across, and I come to the traffic light, and that's where the Avenue of Americas meets Broadway. I think it's called Herald Square. So I was coming where the one-way's coming down, and the one-way coming down is on my left. Now, you have to understand that I'm blinded in one eye. And I'm standing there, and I was talking to this gorgeous brunette that was standing next to me. I'll never forget it. And the light turned green, and she said, look out. She says, look out, and she screamed at me, and I turned, and I said, oh, my God, and I got hit by a cab.
And I'm waiting, and somebody knocks on the window. And I look up, and they said, are you here with your brother? And I said, yeah. And they said, oh, he just got hit by a cab down on the corner. And I went, what?
The cab hit me. It crushed me. It hit me. It dragged me. I went almost to 32nd Street. And I ended up hitting an antenna of a parked car, and it ripped my face back open again. And I'm laying on the ground. And I was laying on the ground. I said to myself, I can't move from my waist down. And my legs hurt, and they were swelling, but I couldn't move. So I said, let me just lay here. My face was bleeding. And this cop walks over and says, this sucker's dead. And he threw his jacket on top of me. And I'm laying there, and I'm going, I'm dead. I don't believe this. I'm dead. And I said, well, if you're dead, you're supposed to meet somebody, the God, the devil, or something. And I can hear these sirens and people screaming and stuff like that. The people surrounded the cab so they couldn't get away. And my sister comes screaming.
So when I get to the corner, there's my brother laying in the street, and they had him covered with a coat that he was dead. So I started screaming, oh my God, I killed you, I killed you, I killed you, look what I did to you. And all of a sudden the coat went flying in the air, and he goes, I'm not dead. I'm not dead, I'm alive. So. And they took me to Wayne General, where I stayed for the next 169 days or something. On crutches and a walker and a wheelchair, you know. And then, you know, I got addicted to Percodans at that time. You know, I started doing a lot of Percodans, and I started doing a lot of booze, and then I started doing a lot of coke. So, you know, the drugs were trying to made me move a lot better than what I was moving. You know. Well, they were saying I couldn't walk again, never mind bowl again. Everyone did drugs. We all did drugs. Okay, just depended who got hooked and who didn't. I really got heavily addicted into Percodans as painkillers because my legs hurt a lot. You know, I remember the day my father died, I remember flushing all the morphine and things down the sink so my brother couldn't get it. But I mean, it was really a bad time, but he stuck through it. I was scheduled to go on the PBA tour, and I never got to go.
I was going to leave the week later because it starts in January, the first week of January, and never got to go. So.
When my father was dying, my brother was a stone drug addict, an alcoholic.
My father finally was diagnosed with lung cancer and he was going to die. And the doctor told him that you only had 6 months to live, and don't you think you led your life, you shouldn't be upset. My father was 62 at the time. And I loved my father. I never had a chance to say I was sorry to my father for everything that I did. At that time, I had just started using cocaine then. I mean, I used it because what it did was it really kept me up, and I used it to stay up. I mean, it also got me high, but at night I couldn't, I used speed and coke and I was staying up, and I really wasn't really heavily addicted to that at that time. And at the end, when the cancer went to his liver, he didn't want to stay in the hospital anymore, and he asked me if he came home, if I could take care of him. We started to get close again after all the times that we separated. And for that 9 months, it was hard because all day long I was out hustling and doing what I need to do, trying to earn some money. And at night, my aunt would take care of my dad during the day, and then at night, from like 9 or 10 at night to 9 in the morning, I would stay up and give him his medicine and stuff like that. It was really hard to watch him die. So of course I let them down, but you can't go your whole life when you get sober saying that's the reason I should destroy my life. I wish I would have been in a different shape and form when people came to the funeral home to see me. I'm not the same person I was then. That was 15 years ago and 20 years ago. It's 21 years since my dad died, I mean, it took us to come here for me to come to the grave. Hey, Dad. Hey, Mom. Long time.
When you're a drug addict and alcoholic, you steal from your family. I mean, you threaten your family. I could go on for an ever and ever. And my family couldn't take it.
Bob always owed 50 million people. If it wasn't loan sharks, it was that, the other thing. But there's one time it was really a serious thing, and there was really a contract out on him. And I had given him the money, and I went with him to pay it. Because I didn't
Thank
trust
God.
him. All right, and he paid it.
If he came to your door, you gave him money. And I told all my neighbors, you give him money, I'm not paying you back. I'm telling you right now. Because they all knew him as the bowler. A lot of them didn't know the other side of him. And so
But they knew us, so that's
right,
why
so they'd say, okay, here's 100, your sister will give it to me. And I told my neighbors, you give him money, it's your money.
My sisters were strong enough to walk away from him. I never was. They were strong enough to set limits and boundaries that he wasn't allowed to be in their lives or this and that. I was never that strong. But the effect that it had on everyone was devastating.
I remember a Thanksgiving at my house after my father had died. He came. He was like, what you would want to have done was throw him in the shower and scrub him. He was so down and out. And there was no way we could get him to leave. Shoe leather skin, hair, no teeth, hair wild, no teeth, filthy dirty. And then it was so bad that my mother really didn't want him to leave. But then I think just took Gene and somebody took him down to a motel in Patterson to give him a room. Remember that one?
Yeah, I mean,
It was, you wouldn't have known it was him. You would have thought it was just anybody.
But this was not a human being. This was a chemical. This was, there was no understanding. For him, it was survival, whatever he had to do to survive. There was no right or wrong. And I just told him, get out of my life. You are already dead because...
truck, and it missed me. And if that guy would have caught me, he'd have beat the living crap out of me, and I would have died then. But I ran away, and then I decided from that point on that I needed to do something about my life. I was feeling better, and they told me I could go to Graymore, St. Christopher's Inn. And I went up there, and I said, listen, I said, brother, I said, I need help, and I need it bad. You got to help me.
He arrived, I had said to him, you know, you've been drinking again. But his driver had left. You know, we kept him. And I think that was, God wanted him to be here.
It was like, I guess it was like 45 days since I saw you, from when he went into Graymore, which I didn't even know till later.
No, you didn't see me for a long time.
Or even before that. Time is not something you relate to anymore. I saw defeat, but I saw healing. That the shell, maybe to explain it, the shell had come off, and there was a beginning of healing. The emotional inside you could never explain.
I, myself and others, pushed him and said, you know, if you're going to be here and you want to go on with your life, you're going to have to do something. And that's just a matter of being here. It's not just a matter of being in the building and letting all these activities, but you have to kind of absorb them. You have to kind of make yourself a part of it.
St. Christopher's was probably the biggest inspiration of them all, especially with the spiritual experience with Father Paul, and knowing that I had some hope in life, and I got all that from here. I mean, when I left here, I had a good foundation underneath me. I knew I was going to stay sober, and I was determined to stay sober, and according to the way they structured me, that I could make it. You know, God saved my life, and St. Christopher saved my life. So, you know, had I come here, I probably would have died. Chances are I was dead already, so I would have definitely been dead if I wasn't here.
A friend of his had lent a guy money for a business that he wanted to start, and his friend died, Bob Purzycki, and supposedly the brother wanted the money back, and the people Bobby knew, they went to collect the money, and Bob went to Manhattan to tell this guy we wanted the money back or else.
I sat down, I talked to him, and I was told to say certain things, and you know, I kind of like took it to another level and tried to get the guy to get the message, and the guy did get the message, but the message not only was being given to the guy, it was being given to the FBI. You know, I mean, the FBI was there all the time. I didn't know that.
He was charged in a very serious crime. He was charged in an extortion. Some of the people that he was accused of participating with were alleged to have contacts to organized crime, and he was in a bit of trouble.
They handcuffed me and they put me in the back of a federal car, and they took me all East Side Street and under a tunnel into the federal building in Manhattan, and they took me up into a room, and I'm standing there and they're going through my wallet. Who's this guy? Who's that guy? And they bring a guy in to meet me, and they said, do you know who this guy is? And I said, no. He said, this is the guy that locked up John Gotti.
Bob had been arrested and charged with extortion in federal court in the Southern District of New York.
The U.S. Attorney Clark is telling the magistrate that I'm a capo in a Gambino crime family, that I can kill people with the snap of my fingers. And my lawyer turns to me and says, I thought you were a bowler. What he's talking about? I said, I have no idea what he's talking about.
From the day that I met him, he made it clear that he wanted to find a way to acknowledge the criminal activity in which he was involved, and he was prepared to deal with the consequences, and that was unique among the people I represent. At the end of the day, Bob was sentenced to a time-served sentence and a term of supervised release, in other words, a non-incarcerative sentence. And as you well know, he was able to go on with his life and go on with his trade, and he proved the judge's judgment about him correct.
This is Tito Smith, greatest of all time. Better than everybody. Nobody better than Tito Smith. He's my friend for 30 years.
Oh, don't
40
get me
years.
wrong. When this kid grew up with Mark Roth, him and Mark Roth were just as even in those days, but, you know, one went another way, he went another way, and he could have been one of the best in the world right now. I used to stay at his house.
When I grew up, this was
him
it.
and his father was one of the greatest men I ever met. And he always followed this guy wherever he went. And he always, if his dad didn't come and we went together, I had to watch over him. The second dad, let's put it that way. And,
Yeah, my first night on tour, I roomed with Tito. So he was blessed with me the rest of his life. So here we are 40 years later, we're still blessed with each other.
But it's great, it's great. It's great to see him back, really.
Good to see you. All right. Everything's good.
Good, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, let's
get going.
You know, it hasn't been an easy life. Like I said before, he's come out of it. He's back, he's off the canvas now, and my son is going to help him get back, drilling his equipment, and once we get everything ready for him, I think he's going to be very competitive.
I started bowling again as Bob Purzycki when I got sober because I wanted no affiliation because I'm sober. My name is Bob Purzycki and I wasn't sober as Bob Purry. You need to just deal with this. This is recovery, and recovery is keep going forward. Not look at the past. I'm not regretting my past, but I'm not gonna beat myself up because when I was not sober that my parents got to see me be a lowlife. Today I'm not a lowlife, so they see that. We all believe in God, or we believe in our higher power, so I know they're in heaven, that's all that matters. Whether I go to heaven is another thing, but we know that they're in heaven.
Well, Earl Anthony, we have arrived. We have arrived at our championship match of the Super Bowl High Roller. The winner of this match, $100,000.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Purzycki and Chris James.
Both of these guys are feeling a lot of heat right now, and the opening shots will probably get down there real quick.
There are a lot of Bob Purzycki fans all across the country. That's a nice ball. There it is.
Outstanding shot there, and you can see they're both using a lot of ball speed. Bob using a little more than the younger player, Chris.
Besides being the greatest bowler, which he is, there was a higher purpose for him.
And that's the kind of thing, a psychological thing. That's a double for Bob, and it could affect Chris James. Only 23, as I mentioned. Already feeling plenty of pressure just bowling in this circumstance. Oh, another good shot.
Boy, that's a beautiful ball after that double from Purzycki.
So somewhere these demons were conquered. I don't know who conquered them, but I think 99% has to go to Bob. conquered his own demons.
See the determination in his face.
Both bowlers working on a double. Oh! Purzycki!
Well, I tell you what, you've got to feel pretty fortunate, as you can see.
And when he's out there with that bowling ball, you never know. There might be another hand behind him helping him.
In the fifth frame. Oh.
There's a look at him.
You're getting another chance now. You can start a new career in what you're doing, in addition in bowling, where you can again become a national champion. So take advantage of it right now.
But it really comes down to Chris James needing 3 strikes minimum to make Bob Perry get a mark. Bob Purzycki, I should say, get a mark in the 10th frame.
It's there. Oh.
Wait a minute.
Look out. Hit. Oh, no.
Unbelievable. His 4th solid 10 of the match.
I think Bob had a tough life, but he hasn't hit the 10 count. Right now he's on 9 3/4. You know, but he's up.
Oh, it's a wonderful story, and he's very open about talking about it. Purzycki is. He's a recovering alcoholic. He works with kids day in and day out. He gets kids off the streets, finds jobs. He'll like it. All right, 200 to 193, and Bob Purzycki is the champion of the Super Bowl High Roller here in Las Vegas. There is your winner, Bob Purzycki, the winner of the High Roller here at the Showboat in Las Vegas. $100,000. 200, 193 over Christian. Bob, we're in the middle of a wonderful moment here at the Showboat, and I don't know if you can find the words, but please try.
This is a moment that you go your whole life to wait for. You know, I come from I had a real bad time in life, and 5 years ago this was a dream, and today it's reality, and I owe a lot of people for it, and I thank God for it. And without it, I'd have nothing.
Very, very nice.
I think he's fine now. I think that there won't be no count of 10. I think from now on, he'll be the referee, counting for other people.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bobby. Happy birthday to you.
I didn't think I was going to make 35.
Right when you get
No,
out.
I didn't think I was going to make 50 years old. Not at all.
You know where the ramp coming down is?
10 years sobriety. Sober 10 years this month.
It wasn't that bad.
Oh, he's got to open his
This
gifts.
month is the month that I got sober, June 27th of 1992.
Oh, yeah?
Like it says in another wonderful book, you know, love endures all things, it bears all things. You know, love is what it is, you know. And I think Bobby got a genuine love for people, especially people that went through what we went through, you know, and took the journey that we took.
We started Last Stop in September of last year, 2001. The first original reason of Last Stop was to start a motor vehicle agency. Also, I was doing secondary referrals for treatment centers. In other words, when people are in treatment for drugs and alcohol, I would find another treatment center for them to go to, such for people who are homeless or people that need more treatment to stay in for a long-term treatment center. I would try to find that when I was working at several treatment centers. So when I came and we started the store, my sister felt it would be a good idea if we started doing referrals. In other words, put a sign outside if people have drug and alcohol problems and need help, because a lot of people in this world don't know what to do when they have problems with drugs and alcohol. So I started Last Stop. It was a train station. Patsy loved the building. Patsy's my sister, and she loved the building, and she felt, and I felt Last Stop would be a great name. I don't know if I do this because I'm looking for any type of gratitude. I just do it because it needs to be done. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't want to do it. People want to stay sober, and
don't want to help people, and there's people that want to stay sober and help people. The best way I can help them is the people that are dying. There's a lot of people dying today. You know, it's good that you help a lot of people. It's not about money. I don't charge. I don't ask for anything. People that talk about getting better, a lot of people don't know what it's like to get better. A lot of people have different ideas, but when you come from death's door, it's a little bit different.